Hey guys! How are all you beautiful people doing? Hope you are doing alright. This is the next part of What If Naruto Was in Attack on Titan with Susanoo. So let's start. Enjoy. Chapter 81, The Encounter. The next morning, many Survey Corps veterans in a meeting room were discussing the process of off-wall exploration. Many still don't realize that off-wall research a month later won't be the same as before. Commander Owen dropped off the reports on the new recruits joining the Survey Corps. Many had already studied these files the day before. After everyone had read the profiles of the recruits, Owen asked, "How do they see it? Is there anyone to be more careful with?" Captain Mike said, "In a group of good soldiers. You can tell there is talent from all aspects within this batch of graduates." Mike, like many others, felt that the quality of recruiting in this group was extremely high. Overall, it was good that some graduated with a B from Instructor Keith. However, there are over 10 evaluations with an A this year, and 4 of them have an A+, all of which was like winning a lottery prize. Hange Zoe said, "They can all learn slowly. I think Ness will teach them well what to learn." Nanabar hesitated. "Isn't it too hasty to let them participate in research outside the walls in a month?" Many people in the room turned their heads to look at Owen, waiting for answers. In the past, they would not be in such a hurry to teach new Survey Corps soldiers and would normally be finished teaching them in 3 to 4 months. This time, Commander Owen's demeanor was wrong. Owen just smiled. He couldn't share all his plans for now and said, "It's okay, it's just a short and quick investigation." The plan is still being perfected, and out of prudence, even if all the veterans are present, he does not intend to unveil the plan and all the hidden meaning of this operation right now. It will not be too late to share the plans a few hours before the operation. Owen knew very well that the enemy had already broken through the wall and was possibly now in the Allied ranks. Otherwise, why did the colossal Titan attack the Trust District Gate right after the Survey Corps left the city? Was it just a coincidence? A coincidence 5 years later. Eren can become a Titan. The colossal Titan and the battleship are probably just like Eren, not counting the female Titan that appeared right at the end of the gate being sealed. His guesses were reinforced when the experimental subjects were killed, which means that the enemy may belong to the Survey Corps or be in another division of the army. Anyone who had not been in the Corps less than 5 years were suspects. He could not allow the enemy to fool him. Relatively speaking, suspicions such as Takashi having strange power capable of equal to that of the Titans is something to be taken into account. The most likely to be enemies are those who come from the Shiganshina district. Seeing that the commander did not say much, the Survey Corps elites did not ask. Owen had a high prestige in the Survey Corps and the soldiers were very convinced of his plans. The first day when they arrived at the castle, Takashi and the others were busy clearing the grounds, and the next day it all started in the morning. The good squad leader Ness, who was wearing a white hood, called Takashi and his group of recruits to the stables to feed the horses. Ness told them all, "I know you all brought horses that you carry with you from the training corps, but sometimes the distance to investigate outside the wall is too great. So you must change horses and you need a spare one. Remember, don't treat the horses badly when it comes to feeding them, no matter what horse it is. Outside the walls, the horses will save our lives. Average Titans cannot match the speed of horses that are carefully bred and selected." Seeing that everyone was listening intently, Nas nodded and brought out his horse. "This is my mare Charlotte. She loves to chew on hair, so be careful if you don't want to go bald. Nice to introduce you all to her." "Hey! Stop it, Charlotte. Ah! Hey, somebody hold her." Ness's mare bit the white cloth hood on his head, Takashi's face smiled ruefully. He finally knew why Squadron Leader Ness was wearing a funny white hood. Connie stepped forward and helped that separated Ness from the mare Charlotte. Ness was not angry. He was used to his strange horse, so he shaved his hair and now his scalp is balder than Connie's, clean and shiny. Like Takashi, he also got used to his horse with a noble temperament, Barbers. Thomas also remembered his horse Dorito. Now he thought that army horses were much rarer than soldiers. After the horses had been fed, Nas took all the new recruits to a classroom. On a blackboard was a diagram of the route formation to be made in a month. It was invented by Commander Irwin and its function is to go through the most special in the shortest possible time. You new recruits will be here. Among the support team and those who will guard the carriages. Your job will be to shuttle the spare horses and relay messages. Takashi was looking at the map intently. Armin and Nelson on their side were taking notes, showing an analytical demeanor. The principle of this formation is intended to increase the scouting ratio, with soldiers spread evenly, thus obtaining a reliable range of vision in all directions, being at maximum scouting ability and communication sphere. The primary circular method is flare guns, based on the color of the smoke, will be able to be aware of the situation appropriately. It is clear that the front line of the division are the ones who will use them most often. In case a Titan is spotted, the 1st Division will have to fire a red flare. The neighboring units will confirm the color of the smoke and follow them until it reaches the center. When it reaches the center, it will fire a green flare indicating the direction in which they will advance. However, when the eccentric Titans appear, a black flare will be fired. Since these Titans seem to understand the basic principle of the formation, they will try to break the formation by ignoring the surrounding soldiers and attacking to the center of the formation. The formation center is where all the supplies such as food, weapons, and other expeditionary tools are kept. Takashi knew that the results of this formation reduced the deaths of Survey Corps members by 30%, which is truly fantastic. It is a bit ironic to say that the past investigations outside the wall actually made it all the way to the Maria Wall. Because there are so many abandoned buildings, conditions were better than before. In the afternoon, the Hanzhou class was taught by Nifa. The girl mainly talked about the use of flares, the meaning of each color of flares and when to use them. Takashi frowned. He felt that a new signal was still missing, a special flare to signal a smart Titan. However, that would show the main objective of the operation. Still, Takashi believes it was necessary. In the original situation, many Survey Corps people treated the female Titan as an abnormal Titan after they became aware of its existence, resulting in many casualties. Also, even if someone knew it was an intelligent Titan, they could only fire black flares and the people in command would just think it was something normal. Titans were still treated as normal, abnormal Titans. In this way, the right signals were misleading at all times, and the female Titan wiped out a large number of soldiers. After class, the thoughtful Takashi went to the dining hall with everyone. As he passed by the stables, Eren, who had just left, looked at his classmates. Eren felt a little excited and asked Oruo Brossard, who was supervising him, "Sir, can I go talk to my training partners?" Oruo Brossard's face was indifferent, but he wouldn't treat Eren like a prisoner either and said, "Go ahead boy, remember to come back soon." Eren nodded and ran after Takashi and the others. "Guys, you're all here, have you joined the Survey Corps?" Connie, "Yes, I was inspired by everyone who came here, ready for action." Mikasa quickly grabbed Eren's hand. "Eren, they didn't abuse you, did they? Like beating you or psychologically torturing you, did they?" Eren scoffed, "No, they treated me well. Mikasa's face was grim. That dwarf is too arrogant, I'll deal with him sooner or later. Eren sweated on his forehead, you mean Captain Levi? All right. Cough asterisk cough asterisk Takashi coughed loudly beside my Axa, girl, my uncle is not to be trifled with. Eren turned to look at Takashi, Reina, Sasha and Yama, so you all joined the Survey Corps, only Jean, Marco and Annie went to the military police. Humph. Marco is dead. Jean Kirstein came up from behind and came out a little late today when she was on duty to clean up the classroom. Eren looked at his old enemy in surprise. You said Marco is dead, how is that possible? Jean's face darkened and he said, it seems that not everyone has a dramatic death, we don't even know what Marco's end was like. He died without anyone knowing or anyone seeing him. Eren was silent, not knowing what to say. Suddenly, Jean held Eren by his shoulder and said, I heard you led everyone in your group to their death, Mina and the others died because you rushed to attack like a mindless idiot. I hope you'll be wiser now, not everyone here wants to die. Hearing those words, Eren was stunned for a moment. It was true that his entire squad died because of him. What Takashi was always careful about was leading others to their death. However, Eren didn't seem to care. The losses in the recovery battle were actually minor, for example, Ian was still alive. But those who died will be remembered by the living. Jean didn't have as many grievances against Eren as before, but if his good friend died, he wouldn't have good words to say at their reunion. I'm so sorry. Eren said in a daze. That doesn't matter anymore, concentrate on your work and we can all win. Jean said with a serious expression. Well, something normal for that couple, right Yama? Takashi said with a distracted look. As you say. Yama replied with a grimace. As the atmosphere was getting gloomier, Nasa's voice was heard. Hey, new guys, come this way. Your uniforms are ready. There were loved ones who died, but at least Takashi would make their deaths worth it. One day humanity would no longer suffer at the hands of the Titans. Chapter 82, A Suggestion. Best way with the Survey Corps uniforms for each of the recruits. The Survey Corps uniforms embroidered with the wings of freedom have not yet been made. After all, they are all different in height and weight, so now they are sent a green cape with the pattern of the wings of freedom. The recruits eagerly seized the cape. Takashi opened it, found a clasp and tied it to his body. It was very loose and did not affect movement. It would be amazing to have my picture taken in this uniform. I never thought I would one day have the Survey Corps uniform, let alone in this world. Takashi thought to himself. After meeting with Eren and having dinner, Takashi didn't converse much and retired. He walked to Commander Erwin's office, but the castle was relatively large and he couldn't find the commander's office quickly. In the hallway, Petra, who was holding some documents in her hands, saw Takashi, who was looking around and seemed to be looking for something. Takashi, what are you looking for? Do you need help? Petra's voice was kind. Takashi looked away to see Petra behind him and asked, Hello, Major, where can I find Captain Levi? Petra was a little surprised. Are you looking for Captain Levi? I'm about to send the documents there, come with me. Takashi nodded. Thank you for your help. On the way he was trying to choose the right words. He and Petra walked all the way to the office. Dong dong. Petra knocked on the door politely at first, and only pushed after hearing the invitation. Takashi waited quietly outside and after hearing Petra's voice, he went inside. Takashi was surprised when he entered and thought, is it a meeting? He didn't know that the Survey Corps senior officers were very busy these past few days. The survey outside the walls was not a sightseeing tour. After planning the route, they need to communicate with the garrison troops in the Karains district. Funds and equipment are needed, and only after obtaining permission from the Supreme Commander of the 3 legions, the Survey Corps can act. It is known that the Survey Corps is not welcomed in many places by other legions. Ironically, after the fall of the Wall Mary, everyone started to rely on the Survey Corps, but still the expenses are very important and rarely can the resources for the other legions be maintained, but there will always be resources for the Survey Corps. However, no one could stand in Commander Erwin Smith's way, everyone knew that. After Takashi walked in, everyone was stunned when they saw Takashi. It was too much of a coincidence that this recruit is always on everyone's lips. Commander Erwin Smith smiled and said softly, "Takashi, what's wrong?" Takashi looked at his uncle and then said without saying many words, "Sir, I want to report something about the flares." Hanzoi was a little puzzled and asked, "Is there a problem with the flare?" "I must say that the battle plan is truly brilliant, but there is still a very important leak that must be taken into account." "What is the problem you discovered?" Hanzoi was interested in what Takashi was about to say. It was known that his ideas made the war on trust much easier by recommending those wooden poles. Everyone looked at him in confusion. Takashi's expression was very calm. "Sir, considering all the aspects I have discovered so far, you have to consider having a special flare to signal the appearance of intelligent titans like the colossal, armored and female titan." Mike frowned. "Do you think we might encounter an enemy like the armored titan in exploration?" "You are correct, sir. Considering that the enemy might be in our ranks, we have to choose a group of the best soldiers who will give the signal," Takashi explained. He didn't dare to assure his words. He might even be singled out as a suspect, but he didn't care. It seemed that earlier Commander Erwin was suspicious of his actions taken before the attack in the Trust District, but Levi might have said reassuring words so that those suspicions would be removed. Erwin was very calm. "Tell me your opinions and suggestions. If a special titan like the battleship appears, it would be very difficult to deal with, and by the time the Corps was aware of the anomaly, many would have died. Even if they are veterans, they cannot assure to face an intelligent titan and survive." The Survey Corps elites present frowned and Mike raised his eyebrows. "What do you mean?" "Combat experience should not blind our compression when attacking. They are intelligent and quite possibly we are not yet sure of all their abilities. Attacking them with military tactics would be a mistake. They can see and move in a completely normal way. Ordinary titans would not attack our team's ropes or special movement points, nor would they protect their vital pistons when threatened." After a pause, Takashi continued, "Maybe I'm saying things you already know, but if Eren in his titan form is attacked, he can completely cover the back of his neck with his hands, act like an abnormal titan, then make movements impossible to predict, can deal with the most experienced soldiers. Throwing a stone, dirt or dust can make attacks very difficult." Indeed, many people present changed their faces when they heard those words. Even if intelligent titans did not show other abilities, just because of intelligence alone would completely change the battle. Erwin calmly asked, "It's not a problem to make a new flare of a different color. Do you think there's any good way to deal with that?" "Run away. Once the report is given, you have to run away from that titan. Fighting intelligent titans in an open space would be suicide. I think that much is clear to you." Levi looked at Takashi and said, "How do you know the way the titans attack?" Takashi looked at his uncle and said, "When the titan appeared that called all the titans in the city to the point where Eren was, some soldiers attacked him and died in a matter of seconds. You made a good point, we hadn't thought of that. Zoe said with a smile. Erwin Smith nodded without comment and asked again, is there anything else? No, sir. Takashi shook his head. Satisfied to mention those details he knew in advance were not considered. With a nod, he turned to leave. Watching Takashi leave, Erwin asked Zoe, is it possible to make a flare signal with a new color that corresponds to the sighting of an intelligent Titan? Zoe smiled and said confidently, that's simple. Captain Erwin smiled. He didn't mind Takashi's harsh words and wouldn't ignore her advice because he was a recruit. As long as he is useful, he can listen to it, and he doesn't even care if the means are glorious or not. After all, he is Captain Levi's nephew. When only Erwin, Zoe, Levi and Mike were left in the office, Mike couldn't help but say, do they really think to carry out the operation to capture an intelligent Titan? Levi and Zoe also looked at Erwin. Although Zoe also wanted to capture an intelligent Titan alive, it was too difficult. After studying Eren's Titan power, she understood much more about intelligent Titans. Erwin was adamant, even if it is difficult, it only means we will sacrifice more for this victory and they will die less in the future. We know very little and the secret in the basement of Eren's house is completely unknown at the moment. It's hard to say if there's any information we need, but if we can catch an enemy, we can at least find out who's attacking humanity. No matter how much sacrifice we have to make to achieve this. Mike understood, so this plan can't be told to mere recruits. No. For now we also have to postpone the information about the intelligent Titan sighting flare until the end. Erwin said with a serious expression. Including Takashi, Mikasa and Armin, Erwin doesn't plan to inform any more recruits about his plans. Now considering that the enemy is among their ranks, everyone can be a potential suspect, at least those who have not been in the Corps for more than 5 years. It is impossible to know where the enemy will be during the expedition, so recruits will be scattered throughout the formation. If there are other Titans, it will be known during that time. As long as the enemy does not want to sit back and watch the humans take back the Wall of Mary, they will definitely attack them, and the most likely target of the attack is Eren, who may also be a Titan. On the other hand, Takashi also returned to the dormitory. He had done his best to improve the results of that operation, hopefully it will be better. In the next few days, Zoe was going to spend some time making a dark purple flare, a sign of the appearance of an intelligent Titan. At the same time, the most reliable Survey Corps soldiers were told about the new signal. If a dark purple signal is seen, they should flee immediately. And pay attention to the appearing Titans, knowing how to differentiate between normal, abnormal and intelligent Titan. Chapter 83, What is Important? In the evening, Takashi was training with too much energy. There was no time to be soft with his training, especially when a big battle was about to happen. As sweat ran down his body, Takashi noticed something approaching and stopped. Picking up the sword lying on the ground, Takashi simulated some basic training moves. That's a very good sword, its edge looks like it can cut titans with ease. A voice came out of the darkness and Levi walked to Takashi's side. Uncle Levi, this sword belonged to a very brilliant soldier, a blacksmith prepared it and made sure to make it perfect. Takashi said with a flat expression. How did you do in the Corps? I haven't had time to come talk to you, I have to keep an eye on Eren after all. Levi pointed out in a calm voice. It's all good, it's not about a place I'm comfortable in, but I'm glad to be one of the ones fighting the Titans. Takashi sheathed his sword. Well, Commander Erwin wants to talk to you. Takashi knew the conversations with his uncle were still awkward, no one seemed at ease with their relationship. In a room where only 3 people were present, Takashi looked at Erwin in silence before sighing helplessly. Apparently, his uncle Levi shared with the Survey Corps commander the existence of his power without considering it a bit. Takashi was a little nervous, but knowing a little about Commander Erwin and Levi, Takashi felt he could trust them and share with them what he knew about his power. Just as Takashi was about to start the conversation, Erwin suddenly spoke up. You should know that there is a hidden enemy in our ranks. Not only did they kill the experimental titans that Hanzoi was working with, but they also attacked you just when the reconquest operation was over. In that case there would be 2 enemies on our side, which we consider to be an obstacle to overcome in the next expedition. Levi interjected as he looked at Takashi. Do you think those 2 enemies are humans with the ability to become titans? Takashi touched his chin uncertainty. We don't think so, we are sure of it. After saying that, Erwin Smith pointed out, if the enemies made use of 3-dimensional maneuvering equipment, it's probably inside the Survey Corps. Takashi was surprised how far Commander Erwin's research had gone. No wonder how he was able to find out that the enemy would be found in the Allied ranks on the next expedition. The female Titan is a problem. Takashi knew she would attack again once the expedition started. Therefore, being aware of that, Takashi planned to intervene and eliminate the female Titan. But first he had to listen to what Erwin had to say and consider the consequences of being exposed. He could not afford to act recklessly without considering others. So the real significance of this expedition outside the walls is to secure the theory that there are enemy titans in our ranks. A curious thing, I'm sure with Aaron's power and mine we can eliminate them. Takashi understood Erwin's words without much trouble. We are not considering making use of your power, Takashi, with my strength is enough. Levi suddenly interjected. Uncle, you know better than anyone what my power can do. There is no doubt in my mind that I will make use of my power later. Takashi said, what I mean is that I will be the last threshold of our force. I am ready to give it my all. Takashi pointed out, but don't be confused, I am the one who wants to live the most. I will take care of my life until the end. But if I can eliminate 1 or 2 special titans, a few lost years means we can find a more certain victory. That won't be necessary. If our operation succeeds we can successfully capture the enemy. Erwin was sure they would succeed. Takashi hesitated for a moment and asked, I have a question. About my power, if I ever reveal it, will it be a problem just like Aaron? Levi and Erwin were silent for a moment. Erwin was quicker said, I heard the graphic description of the power hidden in your body. Since it's nothing like a titan, there won't be that much of a problem since you have absolute control of that power. In short, there won't be that much of a commotion if you think you will be treated the same as Aaron. The power you have was created by your father, don't worry. Levi said in a serious voice. The flare suggestion was a smart thing to do, at least it was good that you mentioned it only to Hanzoi and the others in that meeting. I have to say I didn't think of that at first. Yuin looked at Takashi and asked, how strong is the power hidden in your body? Takashi looked at Erwin and said, I couldn't tell on a normal scale, but considering the titans that have appeared throughout human history, there is no titan that can beat me if I go serious with my power. Levi looked at his nephew and said, what is the cost you would have to pay if you make use of your ultimate power? I'm guessing over 30 years. I can't say exactly but that would be the figure. Takashi hesitated for a moment and said, I already lost more than 10 years in the recapture of Trust. The female titan possibly knows I have something hidden, but she couldn't have seen my true power. 30 years. I understand that it is a very complicated thing to make use of that power. You will not be forced into anything within the Survey Corps, you have my word. Erwin said in a dignified voice. However, you must give notice if you plan to make use of that power. We are still calculating the consequences and the problems there will be later on. I understand, Commander, you have my word. Takashi said seriously. By the way, there is something I want to say. When the female titan appeared, she quickly and decisively attacked a lot of soldiers. You should be on guard with me if you know I survived a direct attack. Erwin was silent for a moment and nodded. Good, that information will be useful. After a few more, Takashi left Commander Erwin's office. He thought everything would be much more complicated, but he thought too much. 2 days later, Hanji-Zoe, who was busy making flares, suddenly called Takashi. Chapter 84, The True Power of Science. The atmosphere inside the Survey Corps base was excellent. There were no problems of any kind and everyone had a good time either training or learning new things. On the evening of the 4th day inside the castle, custom-made uniforms arrived for the new recruits. Takashi donned his Survey Corps uniform with the Freedom Wings pattern and a green cape with pride. He was about to go to the mess hall to meet Armin and Connie, but Sub-Captain Marblet Burner of the 4th Squadron called out to him. Major, Hanji-Zoe, the captain, are you looking for me for something? Takashi was a bit confused. It shouldn't be of much relevance to Hanji-Zoe. Marblet Burner also didn't seem to understand what his squadron leader was thinking and said, I don't know either. Captain Hange is busy making flares in the lab, you'll understand once you meet with her. Takashi nodded without thinking too much and quickly headed towards the lab next to Marblet. In the last few days Hange had been hard at work creating and transporting all kinds of equipment. When they arrived, the door was ajar. Marblet and Takashi entered silently. As soon as Takashi entered, the first thing that caught his eye were long rows of test tubes, filled with various bottles with unknown liquids, long tubes lying all over the place. On the central table, there are several disassembled signal flares and gunpowder of different types were in various containers on the table. Evidently, some things in here did not correspond to the technology outside. Takashi had been here for a long time and this was the first time he looked at things like this. Everything looked as if many things inside the walls had been erased all at once. It wasn't possible that you could create a three-dimensional maneuvering equipment and not be able to have a book on geography of the entire world. According to Takashi's understanding in the past 3 years, there are many curious things inside the walls but everyone seems not to pay much attention to them. Hanji-Zoe, who was the leader of the research team within the Survey Corps, moved in and started using various vials of liquids that Takashi was unfamiliar with. Although he was not exactly a student who distinguished between the sciences, he still had a general knowledge of physics and chemistry. Hi. Takashi, welcome, find a place where you can sit down. Hanji-Zoe was evidently not very informal. Takashi sat down on a stool and looked at Hanji-Zoe, who was busy making flares. A little quizzical Takashi asked, Captain Hanji-Zoe, what can I do for you? Marblet Burner was also a little curious. Hange kept moving and said with a smile, it's nothing important. There was a report about what you said on the night of your training corps dissolution. If our knives don't cut, if our cannons are not accurate and not powerful enough. But as long as everything is upgraded from generation to generation, one day there will be weapons so powerful that they will destroy the Titans without having to lose beloved people. Takashi's face stalled. How could he possibly know about that? Who recorded it? That's terrible. They must have investigated even the moles on his butt. Earnestly, Takashi said, yes, I remember saying something like that. Now that things have come to this point, I'm more convinced of that. We can't put all our hopes on our best warriors and now Eren's power. Eventually warriors die and Eren's power might not be so reliable for our future. Takashi felt that leaving all that pressure on Eren was not good. Even though he is a protagonist, he can't be given that burden only him when the responsibility is everyone's. Eren, driven by his emotions, can ruin an entire battle plan for now, so relying on his abilities would be a danger. As a former spectator, as far as he remembers, he knows a little about Eren. In his opinion, Eren can be an amazing warrior, but if he is really pushed to the limit, he can do all sorts of crazy things. Oh, how do you think we would eventually defeat the Titans? It takes a long time to improve our weaponry. Don't you think Eren's power is the fastest way? Hange turned her head and looked at Takashi curiously. She thinks this young recruit's ideas are brilliant, so she was intrigued to talk to him as soon as possible. Eren's power may be the way to a better future, but it's not a solution we have to hold on to all the time. If he got the power somehow, it is also possible to remove it from his body, so it would be smart to try to find out everything about his power and then try to steal the power from our enemies. Takashi said with a piercing look. His thoughts are not bound by this world. In Takashi's opinion, the power of the Titans is strong but eventually not so invincible. Do we understand the true terror of a missile? Apparently there is no Newton in this world, but there is nothing wrong with the development of science. After closer observation, everything can become understandable except for the Titans. If the howitzers inside the cannons can't take out the Titans accurately, it's just a matter of accuracy and speed. Therefore, climbing in military power is the true future of mankind. Hange stopped what she was doing, walked over to Takashi, pushed up her glasses and whispered, "That's very cool and all, but you know, except for some technologies, such as three-dimensional maneuvering equipment, the cult of the walls and the royal family has been suppressing technological innovation. Even if it comes to reinforcing the wall, the process is slow and time-consuming." Her eyes were a bit cold, and Takashi's expression was indifferent. "I could imagine something like that, but we must struggle with those restrictions. Otherwise, there's not much chance." Takashi shared opinions about the rampart's defenses, even upgrading the cannons. Hange was silent and Marblet was not in a good mood. The situation is getting worse and worse for the humans, but many don't want to see it that way. Hange sighed, "In fact, we are all very passive. Even if we want the Wall's cult to abandon technological suppression, it will be a very difficult thing to do. Since ancient times, the Wall's cult has never changed that policy." His eyes were cold and this made Takashi think that something was not right with the religions and the royal family. His voice became flat and he said, "For the future, what's the use of having such a king?" Horror was drawn on Marblet's face and he was shocked to see Takashi. "Those words are not as simple as treason." Hange couldn't hide her surprise. "Takashi, do you know what you are talking about? Your thoughts are very dangerous." Takashi has spent a long time in this world. He knows how much the royal family's imprint is marked in people's hearts, but this thought can't stop him. Takashi did not flinch and said, "If I were the danger to the stability of these walls, I would not be in this place. The nobles and also the royal family is a disaster. How can they let a cult have more power than the legions that protect humanity? We even have to watch our friends, brothers and acquaintances die for continuing to defend the future of these walls. If all those losses were with humans giving their all, I wouldn't think this way, but it seems someone put rules and brakes on our fight from the start. Pixis already said it, we are not in danger and we do not choose what will happen inside the walls, but the future is in our hands from now on. Marblet looked at Takashi in shock, unable to believe that was what a recruit said. Hanzo's eyes banished with excitement. Ha ha, your thinking is brilliant. So, do you have some innovative ideas in your mind? Takashi was a bit thoughtful. He was very observant in the movies and series he watched in his past life. He also had an average education. He better than anyone knows that humans can't be cornered like this. Now humans are inside the wall, cornered and driven to despair. Isn't that when innovative minds should shine the most? Now, the rest of humanity has a closed mind, as if something has completely blinded them. Thinking about this, Takashi stood up from his stool and said excitedly, yes, the future is military weaponry. Marblet Burner slowly walked away from Captain Hanzo and Takashi. He felt that these two might explode at any moment. Takashi traveled to this world, obtained a Susanoo and the ability to make use of chakra, but he still believed in science. Hanzo looked at Takashi as if she was looking at a precious animal and asked curiously, Takashi, do you have any good ideas you want to share? To capture a Titan alive, Hanzo invented many tools. This plan to capture the intelligent Titan alive included her inventions. She is one of the few people who now knows Erwin Smith's overall plan. Takashi sighed, hating himself for not having proper education right now, but still gave a brief introduction to hot air balloons, grenades, machine guns and other inventions. Whether they were useful or not, someone could recreate those things. The more Marblet listened, the more surprised he was, and the more Hanzo listened, the more excited she was. Suddenly, he patted Takashi and shouted excitedly, Takashi, you're a real genius. As of today, you're a member of the 4th Squadron. Takashi, ha! After living in his previous life and this one, it was the first time someone praised him as a genius. Looking at the excited Hanzo, Takashi's excitement inside his body had been exhausted. This woman in front of him is not a normal person. Hearing those words from her mouth meant nothing but future trouble. Takashi, who just joined the 4th Squadron, felt like a cat being cherished by Hanzo. Currently, there are 5 members of Squad 4, Captain Hanzo, Nifa, Abel, Kiji and Deputy Captain Marblet, and now Genius Takashi joined this squad. In fact, Takashi also has a promising background within the army. No matter which regiment he goes to, he would be recognized for his military achievements so far. According to Hanzo, after this expedition outside the walls, he would be eligible to join Squad 4 officially. Marblet Burner felt that there was nothing wrong with him. He got to know him better today and Takashi left a deep impression on him. Although he is a new recruit, he must have strength, intelligence and boldness, and his military achievements are not small. Thus, Squad 4 has 6 members. In addition, the squad directly under the squad leader is quite special. For example, Nanaba, she is not only a member of Mike's squad, but also the leader of another squad. Chapter 85, A Bite. In the blink of an eye, more than half a month has passed. During the lunch break, in the dormitory, Connie sat on the edge of the bed, touched his bandaged leg and complained, "The training here is too difficult, I always forget my position in the formation. The deadliest thing is that we were actually required to use our 3-dimensional maneuvering equipment to cut down Titan targets while counting on horseback on level ground. That almost broke my leg." Smiling slightly, Armin, who was in the room chatting, rubbed his swollen arms and said, "You're lucky it's only a small sprain. You wouldn't be able to participate in the expedition outside the walls that's coming up." Jean, who had the expression of a dead fish, thought, "You call that luck?" Smiling, Connie said disapprovingly, "It would be better if I broke my leg. The thought of going to fight the Titans outside the walls numbs my back. If in a city with so many buildings and fixed obstacles to move, so many people died, I can't imagine the hell that awaits us." Jean was not injured and was preparing a kind of ordinary tea, which was used to award soldiers who participated in the War of Reconquest. "I must have been crazy to join that Survey Corps. But I must say, the way they use the three-dimensional maneuvering equipment here is truly ingenious. I never thought it could be put to that kind of use." Connie said, "Yeah, I wish I could be that good someday." Armin smiled and nodded. "There will be a day when we will be powerful. Where is Takashi?" Jean Kirstein, "He's gone crazy, and all this time he's been practicing with the 3D maneuvering equipment. Even the older guys are very surprised at his performance." Connie also witnessed Takashi using the three-dimensional maneuvering equipment. He could only sigh in excitement. It's worth saying that Takashi and Mikasa have the same last name. Mikasa is also very powerful. They are like monsters in practice. It's only been more than half a month and they won't be taught anything more. In fact, that relationship between Takashi and Miyaksa is not a secret. But more than 3 years have passed now and everything stopped being speculative. Takashi discovered that Miyaksa's ideas are actually very conservative. She hopes that someday Eren will go with her to live a stable and quiet life. Jean was a little upset because that idiot Connie said that Mikasa was a monster, but he didn't complain. People mature and the current Jean is nicer and easier to get along with. At that time, Takashi was still competing with some members of Levi's squad in the forest. Swoosh! Takashi flew like lightning and slashed the back of the Titan target's neck with a spinning slash. His movements flowed smoothly without delay. Slash! His body spun in the air and slashed another Titan target. He landed on a tree branch in front and then used the three-dimensional maneuvering equipment to move forward at high speed, leaving Petra, Gunther and Oruo Brossard behind. "Damn, this brat is too flexible," Oruo Brossard shouted. Petra pointed out, "He's someone very talented, holding his knife in different ways and swinging his body in the air while cutting targets. All that is like seeing Captain Levi in that kid." Gunther was unwilling. "Well, I admit that now he just lacks experience, and the girl named Mikasa, we can't teach much anymore with her high level of learning." After the training was over, Takashi collected his rewards that the puffed-up Oruo Brossard promised and returned to the dormitory. "Friends, how are you?" Takashi stole the cup from whatever Jean was drinking naturally. Connie pointed to his bandaged leg. "Master Takashi, didn't you see I almost broke my leg?" Armin smiled, with a bit of curiosity on his face. "It's just a little sprain, Takashi. You should have learned a lot from the more powerful seniors that Squadron Leader Ness found for you, right?" Takashi, who was in a good mood, smiled. "Captain Levi's squadron is incredibly powerful and very kind. Many made an exception and taught me things even if they are with Eren. Now all that's left is to wait for the expedition outside the wall." The way the Survey Corps elites operate their three-dimensional maneuvering equipment opened Takashi's eyes and he copied their every move. Jean was surprised. "You've learned everything." "We haven't even finished learning what Master Ness taught us." Shrugging calmly, Takashi took a sip of Jean's tea. "After learning everything, they don't plan to teach me anymore." The way Takashi can make a move after only seeing it once makes the others feel angry. Connie is right, at least Takashi is a monster among monsters. As for Mikasa, she's too good. With a dejected look on his face, Connie covered his head. Then have you remembered the change of direction in the long-distance movement formation? Turning back and forth without mistaking other signals, I feel like my head is about to explode. Takashi smiled slightly. Connie, seems like you're the only one in our group who doesn't remember. Connie felt very ashamed of his image and said, don't say that, Sasha doesn't fully remember either. Jean snorted softly. Ha, you can only compare your brain IQ to the sweet potato girl. Connie looked helpless. He was pretty desperate too. Riding on horseback on the plain not far from the castle to practice long-distance running formations, he made several mistakes and ran in the wrong direction, was criticized by his superiors and almost cried. Time passed day by day. Now there were only 3 days left before the expedition outside the walls. At this time, everyone was under the supervision of the leaders within the Survey Corps. The recruits had basically mastered the skills and knowledge needed for expeditions outside the walls. In addition to training and the use of three-dimensional maneuvering equipment, it also included the correct use of flares, how to move with an extra horse, precautions for marching if it rains, how to protect carriages and how to deal with abnormal titans. At present, the Survey Corps is full of talents and Takashi shined during all these days within the Corps. In short, the training has been very constant and rigorous since they entered the Survey Corps. That night, in the courtyard of the castle, the recruits gathered around the campfire, looking up at the bright moon in the sky. Connie said, "We'll be leaving in a few days, are you nervous?" Yama said disdainfully, "Is it useful to be nervous? You bald idiot, are you afraid?" Connie was furious, "Who's afraid?" Yama's venomous tongue is sometimes irrelevant to the occasion and knows no bounds. Her words very easily make people angry. Krista as usual stopped Yama, who still wanted to say things to Connie. "Connie, don't be so nervous, the more experienced ones will guide us well." Krista was assigned to Nanabar's squadron and Amin with Ness. Suppressing her doubts, Jean said, "Everything will be fine, we've all trained very hard, there shouldn't be any problems." Raina was very calm, like a good reliable friend. "Everyone, be careful, don't get out of formation and you won't have any problems." Nelson said, "You're right, we'll all be fine." Takashi was not too worried. Recently, his training gave good results and as long as there is no anomaly, this will be different. Apparating his fist, Takashi felt the power inside every muscle in his body. He never thought he could ever feel like this. A new phase of history was about to unfold and then everything would be in black. On the last day before departure, everyone was busy, preparing the carriages and began loading different types of supplies. Commander Erwin Smith held a meeting, and reported some of the secret plans to the veterans who had joined the Survey Corps for more than 5 years. In the evening, Takashi brought a bucket of fresh fodder to feed the horses. He would leave tomorrow and had to make sure Barber's was in good condition. The importance of the horses outside the wall was no less than that of a three-dimensional maneuvering team. Takashi cocked his head and avoided the nimble bite of Ness's mare Charlotte. He felt the hair almost being ripped out by the big teeth of that damned horse. Krista also came to feed the horses. The strange thing is that Charlotte looked at her silently, but Salot just didn't bite. You know, if Ness found out, she would think something wasn't right. After leaving the forage, Takashi was a bit puzzled. "Krista, these horses seem to really like you." Krista petted the horses quietly and said, "I used to feed the horses when I was on the farm, only when I was busy could I forget the bad things that happened to me." Takashi looked at Krista, who seemed to be very different from usual, and said, "You are still trying hard to be someone good in front of everyone. If I'm not a good person, will everyone still like me?" Looking at Takashi with her big blue eyes, Krista seemed a bit stunned. "You think too much, a person doesn't need so many friends," Takashi said. "Fake friends are the worst friends you can have. If you do that, you just make fun of others with a fake personality." Krista looked a little stunned and said, "No, that's not my intention." "That's what you think. It's only in front of strangers that people usually disguise themselves. No matter how dirty they are, they still have to look dignified and nice. How tiring. It's hard to make a change, but remember that we can die at any time, and think what side of you want others to think of you." After saying that, Takashi smiled and continued to feed the horses. Chapter 86, The Beginning. The sun was emerging from the curtains of darkness, the wind was blowing in the calm and the clouds were light. Each passing minute opened the sky in a vast endless blue color. Today especially was a good day to honor the dead. Early in the morning, Takashi and a group of recruits finished checking their respective three-dimensional maneuvering equipment, filled the fuel tanks, renewed their blades and mounted their horses, following Commander Erwin Smith, and headed towards the Karanes area through Rose's territory. On the other side of the wall, Sina, Annie, who had joined the gendarmerie, woke up early and started making her move long before even the Survey Corps soldiers woke up. In order to swap duties today with another recruit, Annie had to do too heavy a job yesterday, which was to find a missing person. As a result, she had been busy all day, and this matter involved far more than she could have imagined. If it weren't for her excellent physique, she wouldn't have finished on time. After grabbing a bite to eat, Annie made sure to wear her ring and hurried out of town. Something important to do today. It's been over 5 years, she's been inside the wall for a long and bitter time. She must return to Mali. She wants to see her father again, even if her hands are stained with blood. However, to get back she has to bring something in return, and that something is Eren Giga. She donned the three-dimensional maneuvering gear, was even able to get her hands on a green cape characteristic of the Survey Corps, and then with a backpack she ran towards the Rose Wall. She intends to kidnap Eren. She has been in the gendarmerie for a month, but she still hasn't found any information about the founding Titan. There is no trace of that power. At least she can take Eren's power and return home. From the beginning, Reina and she thought that the power of the coordinates might be in Eren. The wind stirred Annie's golden hair and she knew she was about to start a killing spree. She was restless and she didn't know why she was thinking about Takashi, not because of him, but because she remembered how she had beaten him and he had survived. Those memories she had with him. She lost her sanity when she attacked him without much thought. It was late 849, a rare day of rest, where everyone was busy, preparing meals and cleaning the dining hall. Takashi, wearing an apron, took a plate of carved potatoes from the kitchen and put them on the big table. Everyone was already waiting for the food. After the food was served, everyone couldn't wait to start eating. "Hey, tell me, if we strike up a conversation with the Titans, will they be able to talk to us?" asked Takashi suddenly after he had put the food in his mouth. Connie smiled stupidly and said, "Takashi, did you suddenly become an idiot? The Titan will swallow you and the food alike." Frowning, Jean looked at his puzzled. "Why do you think that way? Didn't the teacher tell you that Titans have very low intelligence and only eat people? They don't even attack other animals." Eren, Armin, Mikasa and Sasha also felt puzzled, wondering why engage a Titan in conversation in the first place. Ordinary Titans are actually mentally retarded. I mean, compared to the colossal and battleship Titan who seem to be very intelligent. Can we talk to them instead of the normal ones? Takashi was unfazed by the criticism and asked seriously. Everyone's hand movements froze and the atmosphere became very strange. Rainer's and Berthold's expressions were a bit unnatural, but no one noticed. Impossible, we know very little. You don't even know their origin and purpose, what they are, and if they can understand human language, it would be difficult to negotiate with them. Armin analyzed. No need to negotiate. How many of us have they killed? I must make them pay the price. Eren suddenly became very emotional, not hiding his hatred for the Titans as usual. Violence leads to more violence, let's just think intelligently. Hatred breeds hatred and force can solve the existence of problems, but not all kinds of problems. Takashi began to speak eloquently. I can't make peace with them because I hate them. Remembering his mother, Eren said angrily, and it's rare to have a disagreement with Takashi. Forget it, it's just an illusory assumption. Takashi shook his head in annoyance. Eren lived every situation a lot, he didn't know anything about the Titans attacking humanity and he also didn't know if they were willing to negotiate. Takashi, why do you think that? Reiner asked suddenly with an unnatural expression on his face. It's nothing. Well, am I the only one who feels that the actions of those Titans are a bit strange? If they can exterminate humans, why don't they go all out? There haven't been any attacks these past 4 years. Takashi inside his mind had analyzed all the enemies of this world and never understood why they attacked humanity. Where will those Titans who can be human live if there is no world to live in anymore? It's a good thing, maybe they will never show up again, Connie said innocently after taking a sip of the soup. Well, I hope that when they appear again we are ready to finish them off, we have no choice but to defend ourselves. Takashi smiled without paying much attention. Outside Sina, Annie, who was riding a horse, came back to herself. In fact, she initially thought about whether it was possible to negotiate with a portion of the people inside the walls, but in the end, Reiner and Berthold ruled out that possibility, not to mention whether it was possible to negotiate. Even she unconsciously believed that the founding Titan would not be captured without a fight. King Fritz 145, if any of you dare to provoke me, I will launch the rumble to exterminate the whole entire world. Besides, they have killed so many people and negotiations are too complicated, without trust and mutual understanding. Most importantly, Marley didn't plan to talk about it, let alone prepare any kind of conversation. And so the Survey Corps members from the other side have arrived in the Karanes area. When the large group of Survey Corps horses passed through the main street, many people looked at them curiously. The civilians were still friendly because they hoped that the Survey Corps could take back the Muriomaria someday. Come on everybody. Captain Irwin, we must take back the Maria Wall. Captain Levi, cut those Titans down. It is ironic to say that after the fall of Mary's Wall, humans have a little more understanding towards the group of warriors who defied their fear and fought outside the walls. Before they thought they were wasting tax money only to die. Are we that popular? Sasha asked with a bit of tenderness. Yes, this feeling is really good. Connie was happier, now he felt like a big hero. We just got lucky. There was a lot of booing before the Maria Wall was taken. Jean remembered as a child, when he saw the Survey Corps pass through the Trust district. People looked at them with disgust. Too bad he's a Survey Corps soldier now too. The worse the situation for human beings, the better the situation for the Survey Corps. Armin recalled the days when he witnessed the victory of his friends. Takashi, Krista, Yama, it's me. In the crowd, Liam, who wore the uniform of the garrison troops, greeted Takashi and the others. Krista was a little surprised. It's Liam, what a surprise to see him here. Yama teased, hey deadweight, you're doing good. Liam scratched his head in embarrassment. Even though he knew about what happened on that mountain, he kept the secret. Takashi also looked at Liam, who saved on the mountain, and said, Liam, that witch is like that, ignore her. Yama snorted coldly. Liam looked at Takashi and reminded him, be careful, Takashi, remember to protect everyone. Don't worry, I'll kill all the titans. Krista to the side also shouted to Liam, don't worry about us, you two, take good care of your mother and protect the walls. Liam nodded and watched Takashi and the others walk away. Eren stayed in Levi's squad. He was full of confidence at that moment and he felt that his battle was about to start. When he saw the two kids lying at the window looking excitedly at the Survey Corps team, he couldn't help but laugh. He remembered that he had been like that before. It's been many years, hasn't it? This time, we'll definitely win this time. Takashi didn't know that the protagonist Eren was raising the flag of victory again, otherwise, he would beat him up. The nearby titans have been attracted. The gate will open in 30 seconds. Today we will take a new step. After the gate was opened, the scenery outside the wall was barely visible. Commander Erwin, who was no prince, rushed to the front on a white horse and shouted, let's all go. Roar. Metallic sound. Everyone shouted loudly, many even pulled out their knives and rode their horses forward. The Survey Corps carriages and horses took off in a line, heading towards the fallen Mary Wall. Takashi mounted his horse and looked toward the black top of the Karanes district gate. After exiting the city gate, the field of vision widened in an instant. Everything felt so big. As soon as the large army came out of the city wall, an abandoned village appeared. After the fall of Mary's Wall, all the towns and cities in the territory were deserted and the people were evacuated to Rose's Wall. The walls of the buildings in the town were covered with moss and vines, weeds grew on both sides of the main road and the wooden doors were a little rotten, which was desolate. There are several titans wandering in it. Boom! Boom! A 10-meter-tall titan with a beer belly saw a group of Survey Corps members and walked toward the Legion. Many recruits suddenly became nervous, and an old Survey Corps man shouted, don't panic, the support squad will take care of them, keep going. Indeed, several elite squads of the support squadron moved forward to contain or kill the titan. The recruits barely kept their cool, and the large force continued to advance, and soon raced out of the city, heading for a more dangerous area. Chapter 87, Signals. Pa. 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 There was a series of sounds of hooves pounding the ground, a great curtain of dust was raised, and the Survey Corps Legion sped out of the abandoned city. As soon as they left the city and reached the open grassy plain, Commander Erwin Smith held out his hand and shouted, prepare to move into formation, remember to drop the flares if you run into a smart titan, disperse. When Commander Erwin's words finished, the large legion immediately dispersed as if they were a large avalanche. The recruits were also methodical, each in their respective places. Everyone practiced many times and now no one made a mistake. Takashi's expression remained the same. His position was fourth on the left side, and he was located between the first follow squad and those in charge of protecting the supplies. Where did the female titan appear and where did she pass through? He could no longer remember these details. At this moment he only cared about how he should act in the following moments, but now he could only take one step at a time. According to the current plan, Eren's position is said to be 3 lines to the right. To be honest, this may be false information. It is impossible for Commander Erwin to share Eren's position to all recruits. Facing Takashi on the left is Sasha, who ranks 3rd on the left side and is in a close position with the support team. At the rear is Mikasa, and just 3 lines behind are the Legion resources. The Survey Corps commander is in the center of the formation, which is where he has the proper position to decide the Legion's course. The formation is very effective in avoiding ordinary Titans, but it is not all-powerful, as any formation can have loopholes. Also, if there is a structure that limits vision, the Titans can suddenly come out and it will be a real problem. Not long after the team left, Sasha on Takashi's left front got into trouble. Boom! Standing on all fours, an abnormal Titan that might be 14 meters tall jumped a structure and broke through the walls. Like a crocodile crawling, it frantically chased after Sasha, who rode in front of it. Ah! There was a sound of wind breaking, and when she felt footsteps approaching behind her, Sasha screamed. She reacted and quickly pulled out the signal flare. Out of nerves and the situation, she lost the flare she had just taken and accidentally fell to the ground. On the side, Sasha's squad leader and another Survey Corps veteran rushed to her aid, and the 2 of them took the Titan away together. Damn it! It's an abnormal Titan that won't stop chasing her. Go left and I'll lure it away. Turning his head and looking at the chasing Titan, the squad leader said to another veteran. The Survey Corps veteran gritted his teeth tensely, and as he was about to turn away, he unconsciously glanced back, only to see a figure flying straight at the back of the Titan's neck like an arrow. Whistling. With a flash of blood, the man sliced open the back of the Titan's neck with 2 knives, resulting in a gush of blood. Plaff! The Titan that was still crawling on all fours collapsed to the ground. The squad leader who heard the movement also turned around and saw Takashi, who had jumped off the Titan's head and continued running without his horse. Sasha's squad leader was a little surprised. The black-haired recruit looks familiar, isn't this the rookie that the superiors value? The other veteran said, although Takashi Ackerman is a new recruit, he performed well in the recovery battle. Before he joined the Corps, the number of independent Titans he killed reached 25. No, now it's 26, and his strength is really strong. Takashi, who hadn't stopped running, whistled at Barbers, and Barbers ran towards him immediately. With a quick jump, Takashi jumped up and approached Sasha. Are you okay? Wiping the cold sweat from her forehead, Sasha smiled and said, I'm fine, why are you here? Takashi smiled reassuringly and said, I watched the formation on this side was breaking, and then since you yelled so loudly, I'm here to control the situation. Somewhat embarrassed, Sasha said, Takashi, you're too observant, don't mention it to anyone, it won't happen next time. Even the signal flare slipped from her hands to the ground a moment ago. Sasha felt it was too inferior. Nodding to indicate he would keep the secret, Takashi didn't think Sasha was shy. He could still show an attitude of terror if he was chased by a rat. A Titan could be much scarier than a rat. Takashi saluted Sasha's squad leader, slowed down his horse and slowly fell behind. His position was a little further back than it was now, but he saw that Sasha on the left front was in trouble and rushed to help. Returning to the 4th row, after a while, he saw the red flare of the front row on the left, which meant that he had encountered an ordinary Titan. Seeing this, Takashi simply took the flare gun and loaded a red flare. Boom! He fired a shot into the sky, and soon after, he saw beams of red smoke rising into the sky around him and continued on and on. The essence of this outside the walls research is not to kill Titans or recover the Mary Wall. The long-distance inspection of the formation is a kind of large-scale vision. It was invented primarily to avoid titans. If it weren't for the abnormalities impacting the formation, it usually wouldn't be fought. Takashi had now been a bit aggressive. Generally contact should be avoided, and in this situation the right thing to do should have been to distract the titan. Even so, most of the soldiers in the formation just replicate the signals, and then the commander in the center fires a green flare signal to adjust the course of the formation. Takashi now went to help Sasha a moment ago because the abnormal titan suddenly jumped off a structure and could not be avoided. Just like the red flare sent by the first enemy tracking team just now when it encountered an ordinary titan, what Takashi had to do was not to support and kill the titan, but to relay the news. Not long after, seeing the green smoke in the air in the center of the second column not far away, Takashi lightly pulled the reins, adjusted his direction and mounted his horse towards the new changed direction. After that, the left and right wings of the formation encountered several titans, and all successfully turned to avoid them without any accidents. The long-distance observation formation is certainly a great idea. Being able to avoid titans without directly engaging them will reduce casualties greatly. This area is generally flat terrain, except for green grass. Sometimes you can see some trees with leafy branches, or a small decaying structure. It's been almost an hour and the left wing is generally calm. Takashi frowned. They had already traveled a long distance. Although an abnormal titan appeared next to Sasha to attack her, there were generally no problems. Now it was a matter of time before the female titan started to move. If it didn't appear right next to his, it would most likely appear on the right of the Legion. Unfortunately, he can't remember everything that was going on in this expedition. Takashi only knew that among the members of Levi's squad, with the exception of his uncle and Eren, all were eliminated and a large part of the Survey Corps died at the hands of that intelligent female titan. Sighing, though now that he knew the female titan might have appeared on the right wing, it was impossible for him to cross most of the formation to help. Originally, I thought that when I encountered the female titan, I would join together with Mikasa and find favorable terrain to intercept the female titan. Now it looks like things might not go the way I want. I hope they can catch the female titan successfully. On Takashi's side everything was normal, but the other side is now in a desperate situation. On the right flank of the formation, a titan suddenly appeared, followed by a group of normal titans. The captain on the right side frowned. He now knew that he was in a very dangerous situation. Looking at his subordinates he shouted, "We must evade the titans. Jackler, if that titan looks much more abnormal than an intelligent titan, send the purple signal you have in your team. Everyone follow me." Roar! A group of 12 soldiers headed towards the female titan swiftly. When they broke formation, many headed towards the normal titans to eliminate them bit by bit. As the counterattack began, another soldier slowly broke away from the formation in the opposite direction. The squad that attacked the titans began to die with great speed. The female titan hit the first squadrons that attacked her with surprise movements. These soldiers did not know the appearance of the female titan and mistook her for an abnormal titan. The only reason they attacked was because of the large number of titans that were gathering. Seeing that all his comrades were dead, the only remaining soldier pulled out the flare and charged the purple smoke ready to give the signal. However, just as he was about to fire, the female titan launched a horse at the soldier. Taking a heavy hit, the soldier was knocked off his horse. When Annie successfully eliminated all the soldiers, she resumed her journey. However, just when she thought they had all been killed, a purple flare shot out behind her. Damn! Cough! Intelligent titans! You will be eliminated. Cough, said the soldier before losing his life. Subsequently, the female Titan who had approached soon encountered Armin and his team. Just as Ness and other elite soldiers were about to attack, they saw the purple signal that was fired in a very different way. Ness, who was very perceptive, knew that they had all been eliminated by an intelligent Titan. Armin, replicate the signal. The intelligent Titans appeared. But it was all too late. The female Titan was very close to his position and running away was not an option. Damn it! Soldiers, prepared to delay the female Titan, spread out around her. Subsequently, the female Titan was delayed by the airstrikes the soldiers were making. To protect the defense class, they had to do whatever it took. Ness looked at his dead comrades and shouted, "You! We know you have intelligence, humanity remembers, and we promise that you will one day burn under the flames of vengeance of all mankind." It is a pity that he was subsequently killed. He had accomplished his mission of delaying the female Titan, now he could die knowing he was a hero. The sacrifices of the elders made Armin prepare to launch the flare. Bang! The flare was fired and then many more replicated in the air all the way to the center of the legion. As the flare was sent out, Armin, who wanted to run away, was hit by the female Titan. That Titan cleverly just held him by his cloak. Armin looked at her in horror and to his bewilderment, the female Titan did not kill him. Armin looked at the female Titan and came to himself with a jerk. He pulled out the flare gun and fired a purple smoke flare again. The people around close to Armin also saw the signal flare and their faces changed greatly. Because of Takashi's proposal, the purple signal flare means there is an intelligent Titan, which is more dangerous than a normal signal. Reina and Jean arrived at Armin's side. At this time, Reina was acting very normal. No one would find out that he has a mental illness. The actor Reina saved Armin. Many people had already retreated and began to broadcast the signals. Then, Reina, who was caught by the female Titan, successfully escaped by cutting off her hand. Looking at the wound cut by Reina on his palm, the female Titan immediately changed direction, no longer advancing in a straight line, and ran straight to where Eren's squadron was. "Squad leader, do we need to stop her?" A Survey Corps member was sweating on his forehead, glaring at his squad leader. The squad leader gritted his teeth and said bitterly, "I can't stop it. Purple signal flare, this is a smart Titan. The commander told us to retreat immediately when we find it. At the very least, we have to fight in a place with buildings or structures. Squad leader, there is a small town in front of us. 3 squads near us intercept it. We can't let the Titan disrupt the formation." "All right, let's do it. Gather the people nearby. Assemble, prepare for battle as a team." Chapter 88, The Power of the Survey Corps. In a small abandoned village, 3 squads of elite Survey Corps began intercepting the female Titan with determination. Swoosh! With a slash, a blood stain appeared on the female Titan's arm, and she obviously discovered that these soldiers were more attentive than the previous ones. They usually didn't move so much to attack her directly, they always moved around her. After Takashi reminded the senior Survey Corps commanders, he especially emphasized the danger a Titan with intelligence could pose to the Survey Corps. The old experience of dealing with abnormal Titans may not work, and the main thing they should do is to delay or retreat as soon as contact was made with them, and in accordance with Eren's loss of physical strength as he transformed into a Titan, Erwin formulated the tactic of evasion and delay. Currently, there are 14 people in the 3 squads that besieged the female Titan in the deserted village, and only after a while 2 of them have died. The one commanding the attack is Dirk, a veteran who joined the Survey Corps for many more years than anyone else. He was very cautious. He did not think of taking the head of the female Titan, but he made sure to delay it as much as he could along with the other 3 squads. Slowly they started to wound the female Titan. According to the commander, this could consume the physical strength of any intelligent Titan. But even with such caution, the interception team of the 3 squads soon suffered casualties. It was more than obvious that they were dealing with an intelligent Titan. There was no other way to explain their clever moves. Annie found it too difficult. Evasive tactics and quick cuts continually battered her body. Once she was exhausted, her next actions would expend all her physical strength. She could no longer defend her weak point. She deliberately left an opportunity for the others to attack the back of her neck. Indeed, 2 people seized the opportunity and cut the back of the Titan's neck, but no one knew yet that the female Titan could harden her skin. Crack! The sound of blades breaking was heard. "What's going on? Why can't you cut its skin?" A soldier who took advantage of the gap and cut the back of the female Titan's neck was full of astonishment. "Look out! Broke!" The female Titan slapped the soldier on the ground with her backhand, and the ground was dyed red with blood. Boom! The female Titan jumped straight up and threw a kick like a haughty one towards the 2 soldiers who were trying to cut her ankle tendons. Boom! Boom! 2 more soldiers were kicked against the wall of the house, splattering blood. Seeing this, Dirk forced himself to calm down and fired another purple flare into the sky. "Stop, we completed our mission. But up ahead is the center of the formation," said one soldier, sweating profusely. "I can't let any more soldiers die. The time we gave the main body will be enough," thought Dirk to himself and shouted. "Trust the commander. He said earlier that if we encountered a smart Titan, let's not stop it. We can't hold the enemy anymore. Retreat." Without hesitation, the 3 squadrons retreated decisively. Annie was a little puzzled, but did not chase after them, or did not have time to chase after them. Thus, the female Titan crossed the formation to the end. After seeing the purple signal, many people along the way opted to slow her down as long as there was suitable terrain. Although the soldiers knew what they were up against, many people continued to die while delaying the female Titan's path. From wrecking the formation to chasing Levi's class, the female Titan killed over 25 people along the way. This was discovered by Amin early on. He confirmed that the female Titan was intelligent and kept sending the signal, otherwise, he thought that many others would not find out. Plaff! An ordinary Titan fell to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Takashi put away his swords and jumped onto Barber's back. From now on, even after they fired the red flare, the regiment leader did not see the green flare change direction. Therefore, the squads in front had to fight against the approaching Titans, and sometimes some Titans sneaked into the formation. When Takashi realized that, it was to support the formation facing the Titans. Fortunately, there was no trace of a smart Titan, so there were no casualties. Takashi rode forward and caught up to Sasha at the front. "Sasha, did you see the green signal flare that changed direction?" Sasha was also very confused. It was always heading east before, but after changing direction once again, there were no more signs. "We haven't changed direction for a while now." Frowning, Takashi looked at Sasha's squadron leader. "Major, something seems to be wrong with the formation, so where shall we go?" The squadron leader was also sweating on his forehead. "Something seems to be wrong with the right wing. After firing the flare signal to the east not long ago, I don't understand why there is no sign of the center. We will soon reach the forest with giant trees. Let's make a decision by then." Takashi had done everything possible to improve the situation of this expedition, so now it only remained to see the result that had tended all that effort together with the intelligence of Commander Erwin. The forest of giant trees was already in sight, and when he looked at Mikasa and Connie behind him, they had already gathered. Takashi asked, "Are they all right?" Connie, who was all the way to the back of the formation next to Thomas and Nelson, nodded and said with concern, "Yeah, Thomas and Nelson took it upon themselves to divert some abnormal titans, they should be right next to us any minute." Mikasa seemed to be thinking of something. As long as Eren was not in danger, she would be very calm. This would be the rendezvous point for the Legion. We must stop the titans from entering the forest. Connie was puzzled. What about the formation? Mikasa said calmly, "There are no more formations." Before everyone could say anything else, Sasha's squad leader said, "Recruits, tie your horses and get up into the trees immediately." They all got off their horses and led them to a corner of the forest. They did not have to worry about them, as the titans would not attack the horses. They usually don't attack animals. Take care, barbers, I'll be right back. A group of soldiers climbed up to the giant trees with the help of the three-dimensional maneuvering equipment. The soldiers stood on the branches of the trees more than 30 meters above the ground and stood aside. Just as Takashi was beginning to worry about his friends, a soldier came up to where they were settled and said, "Takashi Ackerman, Commander Erwin Smith is requesting you in the center of the forest. Move immediately at full speed." Takashi frowned and nodded, "Okay, take care guys." After saying that, Takashi disappeared at high speed and went into the forest. Takashi didn't know what was going on, but he would make sure the female titan was captured. After a while, a group of normal titans were attracted to the dozen recruits in the tree and started trying to catch them. Normal titans are not very smart, but they are not wooden poles, and some may even have learning instincts. Connie looked at the dozen titans under the tree in a cold sweat. "I think, what are we doing? Shouldn't we go in next to Takashi?" After pondering for a moment, Mikasa said, "What could the higher-ups be thinking?" Sasha was very puzzled. "Why aren't they informing us of anything?" "Because Commander Erwin does not allow information to leak out. He is right in his precautions. There really is more than one recruit who is a spy right now." After a spy told her the information of where Eren was, the female titan changed her course. Realizing something, Mikasa's expression froze slightly. "Maybe they are on guard against something. The commander must think we are untrustworthy." Connie went blank. "Can't we be trusted? What have we done?" Seeing the restlessness of the recruits, the soldier who came to report that Takashi was required in the center of the forest said, "It's not that you are untrustworthy, it's that very few people are trustworthy right now." With a curious face, Sasha asked, "Sir, do you know something?" The soldier does not hide it, as the problem does not lie here. There is a high probability that there are no spies among the people in this place, and said, "Eren can become a titan, which means that the armored and colossal titan can also be human. According to our suspicions, there is a high probability that they have entered humanity for at least 5 years. Mikasa thought of Eren. She was a little uneasy. Looking at the soldier, she asked, "You mean there are traitors among us? You guys, what do you think?" The soldier asked uncertainty. No one knew who the spies were, but these people in front of him were not. It was impossible that Mikasa and Sasha were suspenders. Connie was also born on the Rose Wall. The situation must be very confusing. "A horse," Sasha muttered as she pointed off into the distance. "It's Thomas' horse." "Is it him?" Connie was stunned. He thought they had detoured and entered the forest from somewhere else, but it seems that wasn't the case. "Looks like he's wounded. distracting the Titans below us. The soldier moved to the left side and Connie wanted to follow him. While the others distracted the Titans, Connie along with the elite soldier landed and looked at all the blood pouring out of Thomas' body. "Thomas, what happened?" Connie asked tensely. Cough. Cough. "They must know." Thomas coughed up blood and said, "A Titan." "There is a Titan, white," Nelson was. "A white Titan." Connie couldn't understand what had happened. The elite soldier said, "He seems to have discovered something, we must treat him immediately and make sure he doesn't die." "Yes." Connie held Thomas as he panicked. "He didn't know where he was injured from, but we can't let him die in this place." While the people here didn't know what was going on, everyone started to help the injured Thomas. Boom. 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 There were constant noises in the forest of giant trees, as if a dozen cannons were constantly bombarding a target. Everyone didn't know why, but Rainer, on the other hand, was a little uneasy. He didn't know whether to help. As for who to help, it was hard to say now. Rainer and Berthold did not act in the end. Now the Major's order is that the recruits are to wait in the tree. If they dare to leave now, there is a high probability that they will be suspected. Still, they did not understand why Takashi was called. In the forest, after sacrificing more than a dozen members of the support class that stopped the female Titan, Levi's squad that Eren was in finally led the Titan into the trap. On the weapon that Hange-Zoe invented shone this day, countless steel spines penetrated the female Titan's body and bound her tightly. "Levi, Mike, now!" shouted Hange-Zoe as she saw that the female Titan had been immobilized. But the female Titan's hardening ability made the stronger soldiers and the others helpless. "It's like they said in the report, it's still amazing that even if several squads weakened her on the way, she can still protect herself with hardening," Commander Erwin said with an emotionless expression. "Prepare the explosives." However, before they could make any more plans, a roar was heard coming out of the female Titan's mouth. "Cut her mouth, she'll call the other Titans." Cut. Just as the female Titan's roar was about to last longer, a shadow swiftly cut the female Titan's mouth. Smoking from her body, Takashi's blades glowed dark blue. "I told you, you'd have no escape." Takashi had arrived. Chapter 89, Without Holding Back. Everyone was silent seeing Takashi's sudden arrival. No one could see him clearly, his speed was out of this world. Takashi's eyes glowed crimson, looking at the female Titan with a fury growing inside him. This female Titan was about to kill him together with Sasha in the last war. When Annie looked at Takashi's sudden arrival, she felt a strange feeling inside her body. Now looking at those glowing eyes of Takashi, she knew he was not someone normal. "Commander, I think I can bring out the human inside the inside of the female Titan." Takashi looked at Commander Erwin Smith and made eye contact with him. Erwin Smith was a little surprised, but then nodded and said, "You may proceed." Having a confirmation, Takashi moved to the female Titan's back and unsheathed the sword on her back. This was the first time he made use of his sword. He had not encountered the opportunity to cut Titans with this sword. Closing his eyes slightly, Takashi concentrated the chakra on the edge of the entire sword. Every breath he took increased the power within the sword. Aiming for the back of the female Titan's neck, he was ready to see who was inside this intelligent Titan. "Sir, do you think you can cut the back of the neck with the hardened skin of that female Titan?" "We couldn't, I honestly don't expect much," Mike said in a deep voice. Just as Erwin was about to answer, a soldier arrived from the front. Commander, multiple Titans are approaching in our direction. It seems they were alerted by the female Titan. The commander frowned. Apparently some Titans were still alerted by the female Titan's shout. Looking at Mike, Erwin said, "Mike, take over." "Roger that." Turning his gaze to Takashi, he suddenly opened his eyes and swung the edge of his sword at high speed towards the female Titan. Cut! With a quick slash, the female Titan had stiffened her skin on her hands while covering the back of her neck. However, this did not stop Takashi's slash, and it broke much of the female Titan's hardened skin. Without stopping, Takashi continuously attacked the nape of the female Titan's neck. Ah! Everyone felt cold at the sight of Takashi's crazed attacks. Levi even thought his nephew had gone completely insane. "It's working!" shouted Hange-Zoe excitedly as she saw the female Titan's skin being damaged more and more. "This is for Aldous, you damned bastards!" Takashi felt he was getting closer and closer to completely counting the hardened skin of the female Titan. "This is for Mina and all those who died." Ugh! The female Titan let out a desperate cry. She never thought anyone had a method to cut her hardened skin. It had no logic. Only now, Annie remembered Marco-bot's words. "Takashi will cut you bastards to pieces." Feeling the fury of Takashi's every attack, Annie thought those words might be real. And at last, in an instant, the female Titan's hands were completely severed. Swoosh! "That took a lot longer than I thought," Takashi muttered under his breath. Just now the cuts were truly dangerous, but the hardened skin of the female Titan was much tougher than he thought. Seeing that the female Titan's hands were cut off, everyone was stunned. "So fierce. Well done, Takashi, now be careful not to kill her by mistake," Hange-Zoe said with concern. Mike had already gone to hold back the abnormal Titans that were approaching towards the female Titan at high speed. They had all been called out by the female Titan's roar, but there weren't many due to Takashi cutting her jaw just before she screamed much more. Looking towards Commander Erwin, Takashi waited for his response. Erwin on his side, nodded slightly for Takashi to continue. Deaf noise. Emanating a large amount of steam from the back of her neck, the female Titan felt desperate. There was nothing she could do. The Titans had been called but not many were approaching. More importantly, however, she couldn't heal her jaw even if she concentrated all her energy on recovering that area of her body. "Keep it up. Come on." The shouts of the soldiers were heard with excitement. Just now they were about to find out who was hiding behind the back of that intelligent Titan's neck. "Commander Erwin, this is urgent." The same soldier who called Takashi and took it upon himself to help Thomas, came to the tree where Erwin was. "What's the situation?" Erwin asked with a frown. "A new intelligent Titan. Quite possibly another intelligent Titan appeared on the left flank of the formation." The soldier was out of breath and said, "It got out of sight, quite possibly it is close to our position." As if his words held magic, a burst of orange lightning completely illuminated the forest from the front of the female Titan. Boom! Due to the great commotion, Takashi stopped his movements in amazement that the explosion had happened not far from his position. Not again. Takashi couldn't believe it. This wasn't the original story, everything was constantly changing. Focusing his sight as much as he could, Takashi couldn't differentiate what was happening in the distance, but it wasn't good. In the distance, outside even the forest of giant trees, a Titan was forming from his feet to his head. Standing over 17 meters tall, a titan with light gray skin looked in the direction where the female titan stood. Reaching forward, a whitish mass began to emerge from her hand and slowly form an arc. To many connoisseurs, the Warhammer Titan had mysteriously appeared in this place. Aimed at the center of the forest, the Warhammer Titan fired the first arrow. Boom! A series of trees were knocked down before the Warhammer Titan fired the second arrow. Boom! Seeing the arrows slowly knocking all the trees down to his direction, Erwin Smith frowned. A new Titan had appeared. "Commander, this is not good." Mike had a grim expression on his face. This whole situation was outside of his predictions. Something like this was not supposed to happen. So another Titan showed up. Takashi sheathed his sword and felt the waves of attacks reach his face. "Erwin, we must reorganize," Levi said in frustration. He, like everyone else, had not expected something like this. "We don't have any more time, everyone move behind me as soon as possible." As Takashi's voice came, an arrow hit very close to their position. Raising a curtain of dust and rocks, many soldiers lost sight of their surroundings. Although Takashi couldn't do much, he had a way out of this situation. "Everyone, move behind Takashi," shouted Erwin as he analyzed the situation. At this rate, the arrows could hit them all. "Looks like someone came to rescue you. Don't get too excited, I also have a much darker power than you could ever imagine." As Takashi's voice finished, a burst of purple chakra began to form around his body. Those closest didn't have time to react as they watched as half of a skeleton's body slowly formed. "Fear not, this is the Survey Corps hidden card." Erwin's shout woke everyone from their thoughts. Decisively they all moved towards Takashi's back. Releasing his Susanoo, Takashi was furious. It seems as if everything that happened in this world was against him. This is the second time he is backed into a corner. "I have arrows too." Saying this, Takashi's Susanoo created a crossbow and with a quick movement, aimed towards the source of the arrows. Right now he was determined to kill that intelligent Titan with the most powerful weapon this world has ever had the honor to witness. The surroundings tensed up. Everyone looked at the skeletal body of Chakra strangely. It didn't seem to be the power of a Titan, but it just seemed much darker than any other power. The heavy air made everyone shiver unconsciously. Levi looked at his nephew with a dark expression. This was the power that hid his body and by which his life was getting shorter and shorter. Takashi wasted no time. The large crossbow in his Susanoo's hands pointed towards the Warhammer Titan. Boom! 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 3 arrows were fired at high speed, completely ignoring the surroundings. The damage was disastrous. Trees were cut down, the air burst with force. In the blink of an eye, the Warhammer Titan was directly attacked by 3 purple arrows. Boom! The first arrow completely destroyed its head. The second and third arrows went into its body. Boom! 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 The shockwave made everyone close their eyes. They felt the terror of the power that Takashi's Susanoo had just unleashed. "You're dead. No one is a match for Susanoo's power, but to be sure I won't leave even a trace of your body." Takashi didn't stop and launched 2 more arrows towards the Warhammer Titan. Boom! Boom! What incredible explosive power! So this is the power hidden in Takashi's body. He definitely finished off the enemy. Erwin was shocked. Takashi's power was not a joke at all. How is it possible that a human could create such devastating power? And more importantly, all within a human body. When the movements stopped, Takashi sighed with relief. Just now, he had given everything with the last attacks. He couldn't hold back due to the dangerous situation. Feeling that the Susanoo's chakra was getting weaker and weaker, he looked towards the female titan. Now the noises were too big and most likely the titans from all directions were approaching his position. Tremor. Commander, multiple titans are approaching our direction. Mike shouted with a cold sweat running down his face. Takashi, we must retreat, you've already sacrificed far more than you should have. Erwin made a decision and ordered everyone to stand down. Rising into the sky, Takashi watched as the titans ate the female titan's body. Damn! Takashi gritted his teeth in fury. He had lost over 10 years of life and had only been able to resolve one intelligent titan in the distance. However, unbeknownst to anyone, the destroyed body of the Warhammer Titan had not moved. But in the distance, a person smiled in fascination. What incredible power, no doubt you are a demon. The voice teased excitedly, we will meet once more, I look forward to seeing how high your power can go, he should be very proud. Sensing a group of soldiers approaching in his direction, the person controlling the Warhammer Titan ran from the spot. His work here was done. Chapter 90, Pain Without Pain. An elite Survey Corps group approached the body of the smoking white titan on the ground, blood flowing from the large holes in its body. Sir, its head was completely destroyed, no titan could survive such damage. A soldier immediately reported. What kind of weapon did the commander use to eliminate this strange titan? Another soldier was puzzled, for those who were not gathered in the center of the forest, they had no idea what had happened. I have no idea. That huge bow seems to be made of a hardened material, we need to make a detailed report on this titan, said Captain Dirk with a serious expression. After slowing down the female titan, he tried to investigate if there were any soldiers trapped outside the formation, but just as he was about to resume the established route, Dirk and all the soldiers saw the orange beams in the distance. Thinking it was an enemy, Drake directed the soldiers towards that point to gather information, who knew that strange titan would have been eliminated as soon as it appeared. Sir, a signal. A soldier pointed to the sky and they all saw a flare just above the forest of giant trees. It's the signal to retreat. The main team must have encountered a lot more things than we can understand, let's try to get moving. Dirk couldn't comprehend what was happening. In all his years of experience, nothing like this had ever happened. High up in a tree, Takashi watched as the titan was devoured by the abnormal titans that had been attracted by the noise and the second scream the female titan had made right after taking out the intelligent titan in the distance. Retreat! Erwin Smith shouted in a deep voice. Everyone felt an emptiness inside. This was the perfect opportunity to have been able to have caught an intelligent titan, but now all was lost. With sad expressions, many accepted this bitter defeat. There was no fighting against everything that had happened. If it wasn't for the titan that suddenly appeared, they would have triumphed. Everyone get back to your horses, we have to move now. Erwin looked at Takashi and then they all started moving. Sir, I will move on you. Takashi had no expression on his face, coldness covered him like frost. Okay, be careful. Erwin had no words for Takashi, he better than anyone knew what this young soldier had sacrificed a moment ago. Swoosh! Without hesitation, Takashi traveled at high speed in pursuit of Levi and Aaron's squad. He feared it wasn't enough and the female titan was now in pursuit. As he moved forward, he pulled out his flare gun and fired it a shot into the air. Immediately, a purple flare shone in the sky. Takashi as well as Commander Erwin knew it, the female titan had not been devoured. Not long after, purple smoke floated over the forest, which was a sign that there was still an intelligent titan among the forest. Hopefully, this would be enough to make the squad protecting Eren alert. With a glint in his eyes, Takashi didn't hesitate. He didn't retreat with everyone and ran straight into the forest, only now he could move freely regardless of orders. Erwin could not stop him. Takashi had revealed his power and that was the least of his problems. What now bothered him was the Titan that appeared in the distance. This one was not related to any enemy in the early history, so now things had changed to a nameless future. As soon as Takashi started to move, he immediately encountered difficulty. The forest was too large. As a former hunter, it wasn't difficult for him to move in the forest, but he didn't know where to go. Who would know where the squad protecting Eren was located? Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud burst of thunder, and Takashi, who was moving through the forest, adjusted his course. Someone had turned into a Titan. He had to make sure if it was the female Titan or another Titan had appeared. On the other hand, the female Titan that had escaped after attracting a group of Titans with her roar, Annie took the opportunity to escape the trap that had fallen. Wearing a green Survey Corps cape, she took advantage of the confusion and silently made her escape with the help of a three-dimensional maneuvering team. Annie used a signal flare to try to find Levi's squadron that was standing by with Eren. When they fell into her trap, Annie tried to kill Gunther Schultz but failed due to the purple smoke signal in the air, and seeing her new failure, she transformed back into the female Titan. It was then that Levi's squadron directly confronted the female Titan. Eren hesitated for a moment and finally chose to trust his comrades. He gritted his teeth and decided to flee, just like Captain Levi a moment ago. This action made him feel regretful. The soldiers of Levi's squadron are very strong. Once they eliminated the female Titan's vision, they tore her arms apart. It's a pity that they were not informed about everything the female Titan knew how to do. Just when Gunther wanted to go and tell her neck, a tragedy happened. Crack! There was a splash of blood. The female Titan gave priority to repairing a single eye. The female Titan who regained her vision bit Gunther by splitting him in two. What? Petra, who slid on the ground with her three-dimensional maneuvering equipment, was filled with disbelief. She turned her head and discovered that the female Titan had repaired a single eye, which surprised her. The female Titan immediately ran, bending over and running wildly, trying to crush Petra, who was standing on the ground with no chance to flee quickly. On the other side, Erdjin and Oruo Brossard were shocked in midair and shouted, "Move quickly!" It's a pity Petra didn't have time to turn around. Just as the female Titan was about to trample Petra to death, a black shadow suddenly appeared gliding across the ground as fast as lightning and caught Petra. Boom! The female Titan stomped on the ground under the tree trunk and saw the black shadow suddenly appear. By her cloak it was a Survey Corps soldier. He was holding Petra without looking back and quickly flew towards a tree branch away from the female Titan. Annie, who was about to step forward, was intercepted by Erd and Oruo Brossard. Be careful, it can harden your skin and focus all of its healing power on a single part of your body. A loud voice came from afar and pointed, "Female Titan, do you really think you escaped my blades?" The female Titan froze for a moment, but quickly failed to see where the enemy had moved to, changing direction several times until she disappeared into the forest. That soldier was moving so fast that the female Titan didn't even see the man's appearance clearly, but the voice sounded very familiar. Takashi had caught up with her again. This person had been interfering with all her plans. Now she understood why Reina and Berthold wanted to get rid of him, but that goal was now far out of her hands. The duo of soldiers, Erd and Oruo, stayed away from the female Titan when they heard the words of that soldier. They definitely did not have the skills to get rid of the female Titan. The female titan did not chase Takashi. The reason she stopped was not only the interference of the soldiers behind her, but Eren is her main target. She didn't have time to chase other people and deviate from her mission. Just as the seconds were getting longer, a look of surprise appeared on Oruo Brossard's face, but before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the female titan suddenly turned around and launched a whip-like kick towards him. The surprise on his face turned to shock instantly. Oruo Brossard shouted, "Let's get a move on." Whoosh! Oruo and Erd used their three-dimensional maneuvering equipment to quickly retreat, the gas from his waist coming out quickly, narrowly dodging the surprise kick. But before they could both be calm, the female titan's right hand grabbed the retractable rope of Erd's equipment and Annie, who was upset, was about to slam Erd to the ground. Erdjin's pupils contracted. With rich combat experience and reaction speed, she quickly moved her hand. Shua! Before the female titan could kill him, Erd decisively cut the retractable rope. The cut was clean and he inevitably lost his balance in midair. At that moment, Oruo attacked the tendon of the female titan's foot. Boom! The cut, which was not that deep, only left a small mark on the female titan's foot. This gave Erd enough time to escape with the one rope left on the three-dimensional maneuvering equipment, because he lost his balance and crashed into a log hard. Whistling. Erd, who fell to the ground, held his left arm. The left arm was the one that took all the blows, so now he couldn't make use of it temporarily. With half of her three-dimensional maneuvering equipment broken and her left arm without strength, she could not move. This was the worst possible situation, and now it was all in Oruo Brossard's hands. "Switch your blades, you idiot!" Boom! Boom! "I know!" shouted Oruo Brossard, who was escaping from the female titan's blows. Oruo, who was about to be caught by the female titan, frowned in despair. He had no chance to escape this time. The only thing he felt at this moment was relief to know that Petra and Erd were alive. "I thought you were going to teach me how to kill titans." A voice came immediately, and Takashi surprisingly slashed the back of the female titan's neck. However, the female titan's sharp vision caused it to stiffen its skin in time. Thud! The sound of blades breaking was heard after Takashi cut the hardened skin of the female titan. Is her strength infinite? Takashi wondered before moving quickly to the injured Erd. "Takashi, how is Petra?" Erd asked with a pained expression. "She's fine," Takashi said. Erdjin looked at Takashi's expression and immediately sensed that he was not well. "Hey, you!" However, just before Erd asked about Takashi's condition, something caught everyone's attention. Boom! There was a burst of thunder, and the forest flashed with yellow lightning, and Eren, who couldn't take it anymore, transformed into a titan. Eren, in his titan form with black hair and green eyes with a bluish glow, pointed ears like elves and a body full of strong muscles, let out a roar, then quickly ran towards the female titan and let out a loud bang. Boom! The female titan was hit by the huge impact and flew backwards more than 10 meters before coming to a stop when she leaned against a tree trunk. Eren's titan punched the female titan in the face, but the female titan swung her head to the side and the fist hit the tree trunk, sending bark and sawdust flying. Burst! Eren, in his titan form, lifted his leg and kicked the part of the female titan's abdomen, transforming for the second time and having many complications along the way. Annie's physically exhausted reaction was slower. Plaff! The female titan flew through the air, fell to the ground, rolled several times before getting up a little frustrated. Then, the 14-meter-tall female Titan and Eren in her Titan form with over 15 meters tall chased each other and fought between the trees. Because Eren knocked down the female Titan and saved her life, Oruo watched the scene of the two Titans fighting fiercely with some surprise. "Major Oruo, we should report this to the main body. I don't have much gas, so you should take care of that," Takashi said in a weak voice. Petra came and stopped next to Takashi and said, "We will do our best to be able to support Eren. You must report to the commander." Taking a deep breath, Oruo turned and ran off. He had no choice but to get away from this place in search of reinforcements. He couldn't do much if he stayed. He could only hope that Eren could win. Damn. At this moment, he's a little regretful. If he had known that Eren was so fierce, he would have let him transform and Gunther wouldn't have died. He's been preventing Eren from transforming into a Titan before, because the Survey Corps can't risk losing Eren and his help is needed in order to seal the wall Maria. Boom. But now, Oruo has no way to stop all this. After firing a flare, all he can do now is go back and report. On the other hand, Takashi, who had saved Petra and rescued Erd, collapsed on a tree branch. Just now he asked Eren to slow down the female Titan. He couldn't do much without compressed gas and physical strength. He didn't know why, but after using his Susanoo he felt something more than an emptiness inside him. It was clear that by losing years of life he was dying. "Mr. Erd, I need your gas cylinders, maybe you have more than me," Takashi said with a sweaty expression. It definitely wasn't right, but he had to make sure Eren wasn't captured. Now he was the only thing that could change the course of the future. The speed he traveled at and all the physical wear and tear along with his chakra made him feel a weakness in his body right now, but he could definitely do something. "Takashi, you're not feeling well, you should stop for a moment," Erd urged Takashi to stop. "No, we can't lose Eren in this battle, we already lost a lot in this battle, we can't afford to lose anything more than a war." Takashi started to take the gas cylinders away from Erd. "Takashi, if the two of us move, maybe we can support Eren in his battle," Petra said with a grim expression. "Yeah, the female Titan can't have much energy, she should be exhausted by now." Takashi nodded and once he exchanged the gas cylinders, he stood up. He had a helpless expression. "We don't have much gas, Eren's battle needs to be monitored and if we see that the situation is not favorable, we will interfere." There was no way her uncle Levi would be delayed any longer. Even if Takashi had used almost all of his gas to get here, Levi could be close and hopefully the three of them could take out the female Titan. Petra's face darkened. "Even if we fail, we have to make sure of that." Takashi sighed. He couldn't get there any faster due to not knowing the right place. He couldn't do more than what he had now accomplished. At that moment, they were both determined to give it their all. They did not choose to sell out their teammates and the only chance to get the Maria Wall back. "Good luck guys, I'll be waiting for you here," Erd said with a fake smile on his sore face. That's it guys. Hope you like this video. Like, share and subscribe the channel. Tell me if you have any recommendation in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.